Hello and welcome to yet another thrilling episode of the Ask Blue podcast. I'm still Rich Austin and I'm joined today by one of my colleagues, Jamie Mitchell. Welcome, Jamie.
Thanks for having me back.
That's okay, not like we don't spend enough time together. And also really pleased to welcome along today from Smart Volution, Mr. Shane West. How are you doing, Shane?
I'm all good, Rich. Thank you very much, mate. Thanks for having me, Jamie.
No problem at all. So, do you want to, these guys know us, who we are and everything. Do you want to introduce yourself quickly to give us a bit about your background, whatever?
Yep. So I'm originally from Tipperary, Ireland. I still live there, actually. I've been working in the kind of POS, point of sale space now since about 2013. Prior to that, I was in the hospitality space for over 10 years. So I've been working with POS solutions. I guess it all ties together well, right? So I guess it started originally in 2013 in the payment space, selling payment terminals, merchant service agreements. Naturally, that grew into ePOS, and I just fell in love with the complexity of taking different technologies, bringing them to an SME, making them all work together, making their business more efficient. That's
so long and checkered history in this this great industry. That you're in good company, don't worry.
Absolutely, and I'm sat with royalty here. Right?
POS royalty. If that's not a contradiction in terms. Well, we've got the right person. We're going to talk about POS today, which is pretty much my favourite subject, but we'll get into that in a little bit more. And you work for Smart Volution, so tell us a bit more about Smart Volution. Obviously, we know you pretty well, but for the benefit of people that don't know you.
Really quick summary: we've been developing POS software since 2005 in general. 2013, we kind of rebranded Smart Volution, start developing Register as our core focus. That's all we do today, is develop Register. Register is an out-of-the-box ePOS application, cross-vertical. We don't sell it direct. We never will. The idea is our partners take the product, pair it with lots of hardware solutions, which generally come from you guys, take it to market themselves. We are channel focused, never sell hardware, never sell payments, never compete with our partners. That's the idea, and just keep developing Register, making it better and better.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that we like about the partnership that we've got with you. You're pretty much the blueprint of a pure ISV for our ISV program. We want to work with software vendors who are trade only, don't sell directly to the end users themselves, so they're not competing with our resellers. Software only, leaving the resellers and us to do the hardware, and obviously with a focus on a particular area as well, which in your case is POS. So it's a great partnership for us, and as I say, it's more or less the blueprint for our ISV program that we've developed, Tech Connect, which we've been working on for a year or two now.
So just on that subject, the last time I was here on the podcast, it was to go over with Richard and Emma, who was here, about our Tech Connect program launching in Europe. And you've been involved in that pretty much since the inception, right? Mm-hmm. And even prior to that.
Before that, really. It was almost like, we've been working together for quite a few years. So, that partnership almost, it was one of the reasons that led us to develop the Tech Connect program. Is are there more partnerships like this that we can form across Europe, right?
Yeah, we joked when I came in that I know so many people here. Realistically, meet the Blue Star team more than I meet our own team. This probably becoming a reality nowadays, right? So, that's always good.
How much longer are you staying? Because
feel like I've been here all day.
I'm joking, of course. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Well, we're currently in one of the two offices in the UK, but the Tech Connect program, as you know, is Europe-wide. Mm-hmm. Selfishly, a lot of my focus is on the UK and Ireland. How is that partner network developing with Smart Volution? Is it just the UK and Ireland? How's that looking?
Blue Star brought us some amazing opportunities in the Nordics, in Europe. I guess there's a lot of fiscal challenges we faced as a POS software company. So a lot of these things we've got to work forward, right? So, for an opportunity in a particular region, we've got to do some fundamental development work to make sure that it fits the fiscal requirements. So, but again, there's a massive range of fiscal regions out there with massive ranges of different requirements. You guys bringing opportunities helps us to focus on which fight we pick next. If we've got an opportunity from Blue Star for the Nordics, then we can work towards that.
Sure, yeah. I think probably as a starting point, let's pull back. You've been in POS for 10, 12 years. Jamie's increasingly growing in POS over the last few years as well. I've been involved in the POS industry since its start in the mid 14th century, and so there's a lot. I think if we just look at, let's say, the last 10 years of point of sale, what do you think are some of the main changes that we've seen in those 10 years?
It's a whole different world, really, isn't it? Gone is the day of big, clunky, I don't know, not knocking Windows, but Windows-based systems with servers locally. Now is the day of all that technology in your hand on an all-in-one payment device. Been some. Can we?
I mean, I suppose you say gone, but there's still a hell of a lot of Windows POS technology around, isn't there? A lot of Windows POS hardware. And what surprised me was in mobility, it went from Windows CE to Android almost overnight. It seemed like it was almost like a hardware refresh for the entire industry. Whereas in point of sale, the move away from Windows, Android's been around for quite a while, but the move away from Windows has been relatively slow. And there's still, at least to the point that, I mean, some of it is down to the fact that people were putting in hardware 10, even 15 years ago that was just built to last, did one particular job and just carried on doing that job more or less indefinitely. And whereas, what's driving the current adoption of Android in the industry?
Well, I guess it's that mix of kind of cloud hybrid architecture, which all of the better POS solutions are doing now, having that native Android application, to battle against all of the common communications challenges that we see. So, native POS technology, speaking to a cloud-based server for, benefits of centralized reporting and mobile device management, all those good things. I guess, we've been in the POS in the Android space longer than most, right? We started out developing an Android ePOS application in 2013, kind of predates Android payment technology. So we've been banging this drum for a while. Probably a fairly ballsy move at the time from our CEO Justin to take the Android route, but how it's paid off, right? So we naturally grew into that space. We became the guys in town when somebody brings a new Android terminal out. We're seeing the same shift from the hardware manufacturers, right? Payments guys are, if not moving to Android, or all at least developing an Android terminal nowadays. We're seeing lots of bespoke desktop, tilts, traditional tilt system looking equipment. Now being Android as well. I guess Android itself, just its security, its robustness, it's growing.
Yeah.
Becoming more and more.
Yeah. Any other change? Obviously, Windows to Android being probably one of the biggest changes. You mentioned payments there. Are there any other big changes in POS over the last 10 years that are worth pointing out? Anything you've seen, Jamie, even more recently?
Certainly a move towards automation, and as well, I think we hinted at it, an ability to be able to deploy a single application on a range of different form factors. So we've talked about the traditional Windows POS, and without putting a picture up on the screen, I think a lot of people will have this image of a static, possibly 15-inch square terminal that lives on a counter.
With a printer,
correct,
a scanner and a cash drawer. Right?
Which has a specific place in the operation, but it also takes up a lot of real estate on the counter, and it's relatively inflexible in terms of the customer has to come to the till. You can't pick that till up and bring it to the customer. One of the great things about Android is it supports on mobile devices, right? So how does that look from a Smart Volution perspective in terms of deploying an app that would run on one of those traditional static tills versus potentially running that on, say, a tablet or a phone?
Yeah, again, the app isn't conscious of this, and that's the beauty of it, right? The app doesn't know it's been deployed on a desktop or a handheld solution. Essentially, the only differentiation is a portrait versus a landscape kind of orientation. The benefits of actually getting down to deploying that and using the likes of the app stores and the mobile device management tools that come so naturally with Android, even pre-configuring the terminal. So, from a deployment perspective, it's plug and play for the merchant. Plug it in, connect it to your Wi-Fi. the MBM platform, downloads our application, downloads whatever locking credentials we need on the terminal, punch in our license key, and the pre-provisioned account just pulls down. You know, it really is. It's went from requiring engineers going on site, days of training, massive migration periods, to now just plug and play. You know, it really is that from end to end.
I mean, we're seeing that quite a bit as well with how we're delivering the hardware, whereas before we would have to either stage the hardware in our warehouse before shipping it out, or in most cases send it to the reseller. The reseller would configure it in their offices and then take it out and install it themselves. Increasingly, we do the configuration in our warehouse, or actually we don't even do anything with some of the Android POS systems that we do. We ship them directly to the end user. All the end user's got to do is connect to Wi-Fi, and immediately they've got the POS application on that unit. So it's that's become a lot easier to do.
That's slicker. Take the payments world as a really prime example of that. In the past, needing, you know, secure key injection facilities, that was a big thing. There was only a handful of them across the UK and Ireland. Now that's eliminated with Android key injection, remote key injection, which again just makes it seamless.
It definitely does, yeah. Are there any other advancements in Android technology that are worth mentioning?
I guess just new and interesting commercial ways, you know, where end users can avail of POS, but outside of traditional, you know, monthly SaaS fees, support packages. You know, we now see the fintech payment guys of this world, want to sum up the squares, giving solutions for free to merchants, right? Based on a blended transaction rate. And they're all good solutions. You know, there is options out there. A merchant can really understand what their business needs and choose the commercial model that suits them. You know, there's choice. There is choice out there now, and there's a lot of choice, and that's good. You know?
Absolutely, yeah. Anything else that's that's changing at all? I mean, maybe even looking at what the future of Android. Is there anything else in there that we think we need to cover there? Anything from your perspective, Jamie?
I think it's likely worth noting we've talked about a few benefits there, but if you look at the Android roadmap, they're quite progressive in terms of their revision update. So typically we're seeing these new major releases of Android on a 12 to 18 month cadence. I'm guessing from a software perspective, with each release that comes out, there's a process of testing and certifying, potentially covering any redev that would have to happen to have that running smoothly. Is there challenges with that frequency, or I guess what would be the benefits that might outweigh those challenges?
Yeah, I mean, there are challenges, of course. You know, it's sometimes dev work and it's resource time, but there's a lot of benefits to that. And again, we still support older versions of Android, right? We support all the way back to Android 5, so it doesn't mean that the merchant needs to change their hardware every 18 months. But with the advancements in Android come loads of new features and loads of new benefits for the end user. Simple things like how they handle pairing with a barcode scanner, a HID keyboard device. That's strengthened over time. But for us, yeah, we've got to test towards that. We've got to develop towards that. But yeah, the benefits are there for the end user. The benefits are there for us because these more robust solutions, they reduce support.
And I guess from your perspective, then having that relationship with Blue Star, for example, because we mentioned it in the past response around how the manufacturers now that would have previously been releasing predominantly Windows-based devices are moving more towards Android in their new product releases. Is having that relationship with distribution to be able to enable those newer models for testing. How does that look from your perspective in terms of being able to speed up that process of certifying and bringing to market support on a new Android version?
Yeah, it's massive. It's massive having that direct relationship. You know, you guys introduce us to the Sunleys, the Landies, the Android guys in the space, and having that direct relationship means we do get future visibility of any new SDK changes, new product ranges they're bringing out, and yeah, I mean, it allows us to allow for that much more difficult thing to do on a generic Android device where we necessarily won't get that visibility. So having that direct relationship, being able to get kit before it goes mainstream, being able to get stuff sent for testing is huge, and it just allows us to make sure we're comfortable supporting the new tech.
Yeah, I think another advantage of the Android hardware is it's relatively low cost compared to Windows as well, isn't it? I mean, obviously, an Android tablet or payment device is significant, under 300, even under £200 is significantly cheaper than a Windows POS terminal plus a payment device. So that I think the cost is helping to drive some of that growth as well, isn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely.
What about obviously there's an increasing amount of Android hardware out there. There's also more and more Android POS software platforms to support that. What advice would you give to resellers in terms of selecting good POS software, whether it's yours or somebody else's?
So I have my role at Smart Volution is partner manager. All new business, the majority of the new business, I'll be the one to give that initial demo and give that initial sales pitch. I guess my advice is look past that sales pitch. Not that my sales pitch is anyway fraudulent or anything, but just.
I mean, you seem very trustworthy to me. I'm fairly naive, but I trust you. Yeah. Where do I sign up?
I mean, that's it. Look past the sales pitch. Look past the brochure. On the outside, all of us pod solutions, we will do the same things, but look into the mechanics of how it works. Look into how the integrations work. Actually, use case and pilot the solutions. And the reason I say that is, some people are happy to sign the dotted line and start reselling the solution after a 45-minute, an hour and a half interaction. One reseller I spoke to that works with a number of different solutions, we were discussing a new integration we have just recently released, and he brought up something that I hadn't considered, which is the intricacy of mapping the integration on a case by case or merchant by merchant basis, and the feedback he had for us on how we have developed that. Again, I'm not a developer by any means. I'm just conscious of any of our dev team watching this. But our mapping process for this particular integration was 30 seconds to a minute. His other solution that he worked with was hours. And as a reseller of that solution, that's resource and your time. You got to be conscious of that. And that's, so get into the intricacy of how the solution works. Definitely spend some time.
But support, I think, is quite important as well, isn't it?
It's that partnership in general, how responsive, the ability for you to have access to support your own merchants, be the master of your own fate. If you're just reselling and kicking a product over the fence, to make sure that is also, your merchants are covered, right? Because when they can't get support from that place, they ring you. And again, you're putting your brand behind that. So look for a solution where you can have back office access. You have the ability to support your customers, make changes in configs, product updates, simple things. So when they ring you with a bit of a frustration situation, you can help them.
I would say there's, probably some similar challenges on the or considerations rather than challenges on the hardware side of things as well. You want to be certain that the hardware is tested and integrated. And I mean, Jamie, you're talking a lot to resellers in terms of not just, perhaps less so in terms of what software they're selecting, how do they go about selecting that, but also what hardware are they selecting, specifically for Android. There's such a lot of choice out there between different manufacturers that work with Android, different form factors of the Android technology as well, right? There's
Right. So from our perspective, it's absolutely paramount, and it calls back to a point we discussed earlier with regards to making sure that there is a relationship there between the distributor, the vendor, and the application, even if you're not selling the application directly to the end user merchant, or we're not necessarily commercially trading directly with the end user merchant. Ultimately, if something goes wrong, the support calls are going to come back to you. And one of the good things about Android, already mentioned, is we've moved towards more of a device that's familiar to consumer devices, right? Because there are so many Android devices out there in the consumer world. In hospitality, where you might have members of staff that are at the early onset of their career putting something into their hand. We've talked about the speed of onboarding, but the speed of actually getting them trained up to give them a device that looks familiar to them must be a huge factor in consideration as well. So having that relationship, certainly, that we can provide demo, that we can go through that process of testing and certification is equally beneficial for us to be able to break down those options if we know a partner is working with Smart Volution for register, or we introduce Smart Volution to that partner as a potential application, good application fit for the end user, that we can also quite quickly draw down options we know are tried and tested.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say, we were talking before about the amount of Windows hardware that's still out there, and we were talking recently, all three of us, to a particular reseller that's got legacy Windows hardware, but then he's needing to be able to match the flexibility of Android, and it was that integration with their software, their sort of legacy software, and the, I think it's to do with the payment application, particularly that you had. I mean, integrations are huge in Android, and I think that's part of what's allowing the scope of solutions that are available to expand. Yeah, talk a bit about integration, Shinks.
It comes back to your original question about how a reseller can choose, a really good solution, and what I was saying about trial and testing it. Get all of the equipment, set it up somewhere, play shop at home, get the kids involved if they have to, but build out the solution, and that applies to the integrations side of it. Set up the integration, check the cost of the integrations is important. We don't charge for any of our integrations, but of course there's a SaaS charge from the solution that the merchant will be connected to. So just check all that, do your due diligence, and I guess that comes back to your previous question. But then on the integration side, I guess SMEs these days, they demand, it's not a nice to have anymore, right? You need to be integrated to your accountancy platform, your online ordering platform, your calendar booking platform. These things are a must have.
I mean, all sorts of different things, like your kitchen display system's got to be linked into the.
And that's really interesting
as well.
Because us, as a software development, POS software development house, we initially thought we'd just develop our own KDS, and then we started looking at KDSs, and we thought, well, it's actually there's a lot here that we hadn't even considered. There's a reason why these guys can make a whole business out of KDS. So sometimes you got to make the decision to integrate as opposed to try and develop, because
we're increasingly seeing that as well with digital signage as well. If we look at a typical hospitality outlet, what's the first thing you see when you walk in there? It's the digital menu boards on the back. It's the screens advertising the burgers or the fried chicken. I'm giving away all of my dietary habits here, but that's what you see when you walk in is the signage, and having that linked into point of sale. You don't need to go and develop a whole new digital signage platform. There's already a lot of great CMS providers out there that are doing that. It's and we're seeing more and more of that, aren't we, Jamie, on the signage side?
So you mentioned there a decision you'd have to make as a software company, whether you develop a specific piece of functionality in-house versus if you integrate with a third party, and equally as channel for third party, I'm sure. What's the main factor that's driving the decision to go one route over the other? Is it speed to deploy? Is it the cost of dev time? Is it you've got an end user merchant or a partner screaming up and down wanting that functionality now? Something else? All of the above?
All of the above. I guess because we develop register for the entire channel, we have to make sure that it fits the rest of the rails, that it aligns with our commercials. Of course, there's no point in us integrating to a highly enterprise solution and then try and sell that as a value add to an SME pointed POS. So opportunity again is a massive one, right? So if we've got an opportunity, we've got a reseller that's going to do some great volume, then of course we prioritize stuff for them. So again, all of the above, mate.
Brilliant. So could you give us an example then, maybe something that we haven't mentioned already, but an example of a recent integration?
Our latest release probably is the best one, Deliverect. is an aggregator platform, one single source where all of I think they've got 1,000 online ordering platforms that integrate to this. So we integrate to Deliverect, which means that all of the different online ordering channels feed to Deliverect, that feeds to us, and we get a single point of reconciliation from the pods. And we've done that really well, and we've done a really deep integration. And so I've experienced this with Register, actually. Even as a merchant, I used Register as a merchant. Then I became a reseller, kind of strengthens my confidence in using it as a merchant. And now I'm working for the vendor, right? So basic things, when as a small business grows, you've got multiple channels, they're required to use them all in order to be competitive nowadays, that you end up with disjointed, clunky tech on site. You now have difficulties with reconciling, essentially 3, 4, 5 POS solutions. Your Just Eat, your Uber, your Deliveroo, your actual POS, they're all POSs within their own rights. They've all got different payment tendering options, paid by card, paid at the door, paid on the app, And then you've that reconciliation from a kitchen's perspective when multiple channels are firing orders into the one kitchen and they're not talking together. It's a mess, right? So Deliverect alleviates that completely.
Great example of where these integrations can drive that efficiency for sure.
Yeah, huge integration for us. The channel has been screaming it for a long time, and also quite a large piece of development work. You can imagine the intricacies of how all of those different channels manage stock, allergens, modifiers. They all do it slightly different. Deliverect have done a fantastic job of consolidating all that.
For sure. I suppose from the point of view of how a business starts out, it probably starts out with something fairly simple, and I just need a way of taking card payments, right? What happens beyond that? Because some businesses stay small businesses, some small businesses stop being businesses, others obviously are successful, they go on to grow, become medium-sized businesses. What kind of challenges do you see as those end users grow, and from small to medium and even to large enterprises?
Yeah, and even if you could try and advise them on how to prepare for that, but it's really difficult, right? So I guess generically we can see a small business typically starts up with some way of taking a payment, some way of recording a sale. As they grow, there will be additional staff challenges, potentially additional locations, right? So now you got to make sure. And when you start building out that tech stack, like we mentioned earlier, and it doesn't talk to each other, it's one thing to manage that in a single location. When you start bolting on multiple locations with more staff and higher staff turnover, it's much more important that you get that right. And the solution as well, make sure that the solution, you can grow into it, right? With our application, we have a like core and a plus, right? And that's quite important. The merchant can start with what they need, it's commercially viable, gets them what they want, and when they're ready to grow, that they can just grow into the next flavor of the product as opposed to having to change that completely. So
What sort of obviously you've got products that have features that fit these things, but what's actually going on with the end user in terms of how from the end user's perspective, what does that additional complexity as they grow look like?
I guess it's about things they're already doing in their business, but bringing that into your POS. Your POS is the heartbeat of your business, and the more you go into that. So at the start, like I said, it's recording a sale, maybe checking an ID, basic stuff, but building some good records. You go back to originally what a point of sale, an electronic cash register, right? So we go back that as the start.
It's like a big calculator or something.
That's what it was. And it gave you some basic reporting, right? You went department, so it's a fresh food product, and it's £2.50, and the next one is it's a frozen department, and that's £5. And at the end of it, you got a length of a till roll receipt that was, could wrap around the building here twice to tell you roughly what you get no visibility of what products or what the staff are doing, or so that's where we start off with basic POS now, which is that point of interaction for the clerk, to gather this good data for the merchant to look back on. Then the merchant will start integrating stuff like their stock management, And when I say integrating, just bringing that into the pods, not necessarily using an integration to stock management, but they start bringing things like that. More complex products is another big thing. They want to start tracking, for a pub, how much beer is left in the barrel and how much vodka is on the bottle up there, and comparing that to what I've sold earlier in the day. Or if I'm selling a composition products, think about like the most simple things, a takeaway coffee, right? When you look at that as a product from an EPOS perspective or mind, it's actually not a simple product at all. It's actually quite complex, because you're selling a cup and a lid and a stir, and you're selling 16 rounds of that bean, and you're selling a sachet of sugar. And when you look at that,
milk, maybe
some milk,
lactose-free milk, all the different milk options. Yeah.
You've got all the trendy milks now. So
so
when we look at that as an EPOS product, it's actually quite complex, and it's essentially, the coffee isn't really a product anymore. It's a composition of by the other product.
So it's like a single coffee shop. They're probably just thinking, well, I'm probably going to have 50 customers today. I've got 2 bags of coffee in the back. I'm probably going to be okay. Whereas once that's no longer one guy who owns the entire business, which is one shop, looking at his stock, which is it's under his desk, it's suddenly 15 outlets. We're all manned by different, all staffed by different employees. He's probably in different cities, possibly even in different countries, and somehow the owner has to be able to see all of those different things and know that actually my branch in Wolverhampton is going to run out of lactose-free milk at some point over the next 24 hours. How do I sort this out? That's the kind of, from an end user perspective, those are the kind of challenges that need to be addressed, right?
As you scale, you need to automate that stuff.
Yeah.
Knowledge is power. I mean, another good example of a reseller that has an exact, almost carbon copy of the deployment, similar deployment you just spoke about, Rich, and they use the register product amazingly to do this. They blow my mind every time I talk to them. With that composition style, they're essentially a coffee shop box, horse box style scenario.
Okay.
These things are everywhere now, and they've grown this now, and they have multiple sites, and they've documented amazingly how they've put the solution together, and but then what they're doing with the data is blowing my mind. This is a SME, it's a micro merchant that started as, and it's now growing beyond that. And they've taken our data and they've pivoted it against the weather and said, okay, when it's sunny, I'm going to sell this many cakes, and they're using the data to forecast the future. And then that gets fed back to us, and we're like, wow, that's actually a really cool thing. How can we widgetize this? How can we put it into the product? How can we there's a word floating on our roadmap which I can't think of now, but it was like so how can we do that? And I think it's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Being able to leverage that data and information like their inventory management, how they manage that with a cup of coffee that uses all these different constituent parts, you could almost describe as being an enterprise level of feature set, right? But it sounds like you've got different SME businesses ranging to enterprise, all with different expectations, and you've a means of being able to cater for all, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. I suppose linked to this is the fact that in the hospitality industry, costs are increasing all the time. Whether we're looking at rents, the cost of the raw materials that goes, energy is a huge one, isn't it? Yeah. How can, we see this as well in terms of they want to drive down the cost of point of sale. Everything else is going up. Point of sale should be coming down in price. That's, why can't POS increase like everything else, like energy bills, etc. So how can hospitality outlets minimise the cost of point of sale?
I guess it's breaking down all of those tasks you're doing, things that are standard, mundane things, and how can you automate those? It's always taking the conversation away from them. And a reseller's face this, and as a reseller, I face the same thing. A merchant sees, adapting a new solution, it's an additional cost, and I guess you got to flip that, right? You got to invest in some tech to reduce costs in other areas of the business. So it's those things. like the multi-site challenges, of course, being able to sit in one place and have real-time view of all of my sites, what sales are happening, what stock levels are, what my staff are doing, which staff are there. I think then you start looking into more of just the central management of the benefits that come with that is being able to push new product updates, ideally, in real time, view the information coming back in real time. The cost of that, if as the business grows, does the solution incentivize that by giving multiple location discounts? This is all very important stuff. So I guess it comes back to as a SME trying to reduce the cost or the running cost. Pause is the place to start. You can automate, eliminate, simple things, and this is where you got to really understand the solution. We spoke about it earlier. Like an end of day process on the system, that alone can save. Having a good, tidy, clean end of day process on your POS system can save 15-20 minutes a day. You're open 6 days a week. Minimum wage is $11.50 an hour, whatever it is now. Those minutes add up. And when you can automate those processes by just spending a little bit of time, you end up making some real numbers at the end of the year as a saving from being conscious of your POS system.
You got any good real world examples of some of those things actually in action?
Yeah, I guess it's always difficult for us to. I have loads of them.
Yeah.
Because we don't sell direct, we don't have a relationship with those merchants. So some of them I can speak about, and some of them I can't. One of them we have a good case study on our YouTube channel, and it's a water park in Bournemouth. And again, it's a really, really good example. I can probably mention their name because it's our case study. It's Splashdown Water Park outside of Positive. You want a brilliant day out. The 17 or 18 water slides. I turned into a 9-year-old again when I went there.
Guess it'd be swimming in the Humber.
Yeah, definitely.
He's on commission as a result of this case study.
Yeah.
Head down there afterwards.
Yeah. I can give you my code to get you 20% off.
Thanks, yeah.
But yeah,
it's all been worth it now.
So yeah, you got to look at those guys and look at that concept. What started off as a requirement to record entries as as somebody came in the door. It's a child, it's an adult, it's a family, it's a group. And then you look at the fact that they've got a cafe or they have a restaurant, and they're like most of these businesses. So you've got this hospitality element, and then you've got a gift shop, right? So now you're bringing in retail, and then they enhanced their ticketing solution like they had to. So that had to be brought and integrated to the POS at the front door. So what you have is a single business taking all of those benefits we spoke about, and the owner is sitting. Again, single centralized management saying, okay, he's looking at the weather, it's raining outside, and I've got two guys in the back of the water park selling ice cream out of ice cream stalls, right? That needs to change. I can reallocate my staff, and I can make. It's all about constantly coming back to knowledge is power, making informed decisions based on the data you're getting from your POS. I think is
absolutely yeah. So I know you've covered this in some way already, but give me 2 or 3 examples of what Smart Volution's doing actually to help address the issues that we've spoken about. Give me some examples of how your software solves some of the problems that we've discussed that we haven't covered already. Yeah,
I mean, I guess the whole cross-vertical element plays straight out of that last example I gave. The fact that we're channel only, we're never selling direct. Our partners have a level playing ground. We're agnostic to payments. We're agnostic to hardware. I guess that.
But you prefer the hardware that comes from Blue Star, though?
Oh, right? Of course, absolutely. But there's nothing like Blue Star's hardware options. If you've got a discount code, you're going to give me back. To say this words.
Quote discount rich for 5% off at checkout.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what we do is we allow the reseller to take our product. We give them free white labeling options, or we give them 20 plus payment integrations. We give them all of the peripheral integrations that the product already has out of the box. They learn one solution as opposed to learning multiple, because we can fit into multiple spaces. So we allow our partners to really become the total solution provider. They hold the relationship with the merchant and protect them along the way.
Yeah, I know white labelling is another one that some of the resellers we've spoken about. They're pretty keen on that too. It's they're presenting it, they're able to sell it as their solution. So there's lots of good benefits, and I particularly like the fact that it's built as a reseller application. It's built for resale rather than being something that's been tweaked for multiple different end users.
That comes up all the time. From day one, the goal was to develop a solution to be resold. So all of that goodness comes in the actual onboarding side of it. The portal has been developed for somebody else to onboard, designed so that they don't need to come to us for every single little thing. They can really own the solution. Comes with that is 10 years worth of logic, right? So 10 years of partners, merchants feeding back lots of different ways they want certain features to work. And what that's done is it's given us this configuration or configurable profile within Register with, I think there's over 250 switches in there now, which allows the reseller to configure the solution towards the merchant's workflow, how your ordering process, how your serving process. It's important that the POS fits that. Fits that workflow to make, so you're telling the merchant the solution will work for you instead of telling you how you got to run your business. I think that's really important. We've also got a hell of a lot of marketing collateral that's come with that as well. So when you become a reseller, we encourage you to white label that product. It's built into it. You don't need to charge it. There's no cost to it. You don't need us to do it for you. It's drop down. Pick your colors, pick your fonts, pick your logos. All that kind of good stuff. And then the collateral that goes with that, we have a knowledge base where the resellers can just take our brochures. We use that Register as a generic kind of a name on the product, so they can, my payments company powered by Register or whatever combination. So take our collateral, take everything, and we can create an EPOS reseller quite quickly.
Good stuff. We've only got a few minutes left, but just a couple of questions I like to ask everybody. Some of the bit more challenging ones maybe, but I like this one. What will the market look like in 25 years from now?
The POS market, I think point of sale will be. We since we started at the start of the podcast talking about hardware footprint, everything is shrinking and the POS is becoming less and less visible. It's always going to be there. It's always going to be in the background. But I think that the whole customer and the whole digital experience for the end user is changing more and more. So we see things like cashierless stores. We've all heard of the big ones around the place. We see an element of this in the hospitality sector as well, the online ordering abilities. I think the POS is going to just become more and more invisible.
You said there in terms of cashierless and also seeing that, I guess that dependence on technology and reduction of human staff in hospitality as well. How do you see that playing out if that continues, given that in certain countries hospitality staff are quite proportionally dependent on tips and gratuity and customer services tailored? How do you see that playing out?
I guess that's an interesting one. I've seen some really cool stuff that payments people are doing with data. Obviously, AI is the big word at the moment, but it's amazing what it's doing, right? So it's a case of on your mobile phone, it's got your bank account and it's got your local gym membership, and it probably has visibility of what sort of the diet you're on at the moment, what kind of that's all there now. So based on all that data, the payments apps can start suggesting, or POS apps, so I don't know who takes ownership for it, but they start suggesting, hey, on your way to work, you're passing 3 different hospitality outlets. We know they suit your budget because we can see your bank account and your regular spending. We know they suit your dietary plans. So just suggesting that to the customer before they they even want something to eat. That then happens. So again, we see that invisible layer of POS, right? I'm placing that order. I'm going to collect it on my way. Reduces the interaction I have. I think service charges is the way to combat that gratuity gap. I think building service charges, and we see it happening with the new tipping legislation. that's recently been introduced into the UK and a little bit longer ago in Ireland. We see that happening already. The service charges become a much more common thing when you go to a restaurant. They're now, I guess, being watched to make sure that they can allocate these funds correctly to their staff. It's all going in the right direction.
I mean, just going back to what you said before about POS getting smaller and smaller, do you think it'll ever disappear completely? So instead of people having an actual point of sale or a till or even a mobile device for going around taking payments, they'll, we've all got these smartwatches on. Maybe instead of actually having to pay somebody, you just like wrist bump and that's the that's the payment done. And I guess we might even get to a point where the staff in the cafe or the restaurant or wherever are just they're just there almost like a host. They're just enabling things that a lot of things robots can be automated and all that kind of thing. You might find that the POS actually disappears and it's more like you're going into somebody's house for a meal. You have the meal in there. They know that you're there because they sense your watch or your aura or whatever. That's it becomes a lot more like completely seamless checkout experience. You've been there. You've been there. They know you've been there. You don't. There isn't this sort of face-to-face transaction. The transaction, the face-to-face element of it becomes more meaningful, and you have a conversation about your meal. They know you. They know stuff about you.
That's a real positive way to look at it. The
future's bright, Shane.
Future's bright. Yeah.
Also, do you want to go to his restaurant?
Well, a lot of people are afraid of this, right?
At the moment it's free because I can't. The technology's not caught up with me yet.
It'll cost you one wrist bump.
I mean, on that side of it, we're already seeing that, right? We're seeing that you tap your card, entering a shop now. You can do that. You can fill a basket. Cameras read it. You leave the shop and you can tap your card, and then that's it. They know what you've bought, right? In the hospitality side. So the reason I think it's so positive, because what you've highlighted there, I think, is interesting. It gives the hospitality, the restaurant, the cafe staff more of a chance to interact with the customer, which is probably something that's slipping and that the hospitality sector is losing now. And it would be brilliant to revitalize that. A lot of people are always scared of what the tech is bringing. What is there going to be a need for people and jobs anymore? I heard a really good example of this on another podcast, and they spoke about
Well, the podcasts are available, by the way.
I mean, not as prestigious as this, of course.
No, of course not.
But so they gave the example of 50, 100 years ago, everybody had to farm, because you farmed to eat yourself. We had processed foods, but larger food processing plants, and all of a sudden, everyone didn't need to farm anymore. But they didn't just sit there and twiddle their thumbs, right? They went and they created new creative things and everything advanced. Anyway, I think that's going to be...
No, we literally sit here and we twiddle our thumbs all day, staring at the screen of a device, yeah. I've got another question for you. What technology, either in this market or outside of it, is getting you excited at the moment? Stuff that's happening now or coming in the really near future?
All the scary ones, all the ones that others find scary. I think they fascinate biometrics.
You mean genetically modified dinosaurs? That's what I'm getting frightened about.
Yeah. I mean,
new Jurassic Park film out.
Keep them extinct, It's going to be a big mistake bringing them back.
What could possibly go wrong?
Possibly, you gotta find the herbivores.
That's right. Yeah.
With tech,
nice ones,
things that people are generally afraid of, I just think it's biometric payments. We see it already. I was recently at a conference with a payment terminal manufacturer. They were really getting into the nitty-gritty of how that works. It's amazing. I didn't realize so much. Reading IR of your veins and things.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's insane, and facial recognition technology being just so much quicker than messing around with smudgy fingerprints and just boom, So I think biometrics in general is just amazing, and that applies to everything. It's age verification. It's marketing. A POS can see that there's wife, or not well, lady and 2 children.
Wives do have children.
They do. Yeah, be careful what you say. But they can see that there's a lady and 2 kids walking towards the pods, right? So now that's going to generate some sort of bespoke marketing content on the CFD to say, hey, these products are relevant to you, and I think that whole side of it.
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, it's the recognising of the demographic type and being able to tell from that what they might be interested in. Yeah.
And their marital history.
Yeah. We're not here to judge, we'll leave that to the biometrics, I guess.
Yeah. Very good. But and I mean that leads on to then AI, right? AI, everybody's afraid of it, everybody's nervous of it. But not just the things that everybody expects. Like I'm interested in more the operational stuff, how that can be used to provision a POS solution, right? So it's the biggest point of friction with anybody reselling POS is that provisioning. That's the part you need to get right. That's the most heavy resource part. That's the most time consuming part. And I'm already seeing AI tools cutting that time in half by just taking away the, scanning somebody's menu, recognizing different price lists and recognizing the allergens, recognizing the modifiers and pre-populating templates just to import into a pod. That's hours of work saved by that. So on the merchant side, using those tools to forecast sales like we spoke about earlier, working out stock, automatically ordering new products, making educated decisions on when to give additional staff some roster time, when to run some promotional offers to try and drive footfall. So yeah, I think all that automating is super exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Jim? Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You, Jamie? Anything?
Just to play on the AI part, I think certainly what you've mentioned is key. I think the conversational part of AI as well, and some of the integration that's happening with translation apps now, to go back to and bring it into hospitality, for example. My ability to be able to potentially go into a hospitality app and my travels in a part of the world where there is no English speaking, and certainly being from England, I struggle with English, let alone other languages.
Sorry, can you say that again? I didn't quite make it out.
There'll be subtitles, but being able to have a conversation real time, hear those responses, and then have the AI process what's happening. So slang, for example, can have the closest translation. We can start to have a conversation. It will open up, it will give me the confidence, but it'll also open up new experiences and be able to go and have that hospitality experience, for example, in a place I previously might not have gone to because I would have feared for the language barrier.
It's not just the language barrier, it's the dialect, it's the slang, and that's,
It seems, I'm not in favour of this kind of technology at all. I've spent many years actually learning 2 or 3 foreign languages, and now suddenly there's this technology that comes through that makes all those years of learning entirely redundant. I mean, we were in a meeting recently with quite a few international colleagues, and one of my roles in that meeting was to translate what our French colleague was saying back into English, and then Jamie finds this app on his phone and he goes, "Don't worry, this will do it," and they were able to just have on Jamie's phone had subtitles of what our colleague was saying, and
he's worried about redundancy is the takeaway.
You'll find some new creative things to do. Don't worry, Richard. We've seen it nowadays. You can make a phone call and it translates in real time. You've seen that.
It's incredible.
Gemini. It's getting better and better.
It really. I mean, it's only a matter of time. It's probably here now that we could be having this conversation in 3 different languages, and somebody in a 4th different language could be listening to that, and it's all happening for them in, I don't know, Russian or whatever, and we're talking, German, French, and Finnish over here, and we all understand each other. They all understand what we're saying. I mean, subtitles are already there with it, but it's the actual the voice speaking of it. That's
the world is getting smaller, and it feels like all of these technologies just bring the world a little bit closer and break those barriers down, like you said. And you see solutions out there like Near Street is one I interact with recently. The idea of kind of integrating all the POS solutions around together, so I get that enhanced experience now on my phone. I want a particular product. It's going to tell me multiple locations. It's going to give me the real-time stock value. It's going to give me the price in real time, and just mapping the whole world together. Scary for some, interesting for others.
Incredible.
Absolutely, yeah. Last question for you. So what have you learned in your career, your long and illustrious career, Shane? And I'll ask the same question to Jamie. What do you wish you'd known when you started out that you know now?
In this career, in the point of sale world, I guess I probably wish I found EPOS a bit sooner. Taking my sales pitch, but also taking the solution I can offer into more complexities of their businesses. You know, I've always been interested in business, and that was before my world in point of sale. I've always been interested, you know, as a hotel bar manager, for example, how the whole system worked was crucial. Not only just interesting, right? I wouldn't be very good if I didn't understand the business side of it, and then understanding the tech and how you can take that real life learning experience and comfortably sit in front of a merchant that's struggling with the things you know they are because you've been there, and say, I can give you a really simple piece of tech that's not going to cost you a lot of money, that's going to alleviate this. I wish I made EPOS sooner in my career, but I'm still only a young man.
Of course you are, yeah. As we all are, of course.
Yeah.
Especially you, Jamie. Sounds like I'm picking on you there. I'm just
Only because you are.
it's not because I'm jealous or anything.
Well, despite the remaining dark hairs on my head, there has been some some experience there. I think, and it kind of reiterates what Shane was saying, but I think that perspective over time. So I guess my career started out more on the supply chain side, warehousing technologies from a distribution perspective, and then had some opportunity to work in that technology from a reseller perspective, where we were doing site walkthroughs, DC tours, and actually seeing the issues and how the technology was addressing those issues in real life, and actually being able to put it into perspective is key. Fast forward, and if we look at POS, for example, actually think about the experience we have in retail hospitality as consumers. And you can go one step further because you've had that experience of actually working in hospitality, you've had that experience of working for a reseller, and all of that perspective kind of draws down to what you kind of want to see from the application. So being able to use that perspective is key. Unfortunately, you only get that perspective with experience.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's something.
Good answers, guys. Thanks very much. I think that pretty much wraps it up for today, unless there's anything in particular you want to add before we close out. It's one of the longer podcasts we've done.
I just want to hear a little bit more about this restaurant. When's it open? It's obviously in your front rooms.
Planning on opening around about 2050 once the technology catches up with my brain and my ideas. And I think it's going to be. You're welcome to come along if I'm still alive. Then
2050.
2050.
I'm washing my hair then. Sorry.
Yeah. You'll need to by then. Yeah.
Dining with Richard.
Yeah.
Dining with Dick. Yeah, we can use that one.
We could say that, yeah. That's probably not what I'll call the restaurant, but thanks for your input, Shane. I think on that note, we're probably going to have to draw things to a close. Thanks very much for listening to yet another episode of the Ask Blue podcast. Thank you to my guests, Jamie Mitchell, struggling to control himself over there, and Shane West. It's been a great conversation. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again really soon.